Hi, I'm Michael, and this is Tarot by the Tree. This is an interesting part now as we get to the key of this tarot system that lets you understand the tarot cards through the understanding of the Tree of Life and the Tree of Knowledge. If you haven't watched the 10 lesson series Tarot by the Tree, it will give you a clearer idea of what we're doing right now. Specifically, lesson 4 in the 10 lesson series Tarot by the Tree will show you how the system works. But for now, I'll just explain it. We've gone through the Tree of Life, the Sephiroth 1 to 10, half the cards 1 to 10 on them. So that's really straightforward. Card number 11, Justice, is suspended over top, and then there's another tree, exactly the same, but this is the Tree of Knowledge, and that's what we're descending right now. We're starting at the top at Keter, and we're going to work our way down. The first tree that we did is what you would teach to youth. It's the cards fall and they explain the Sephiroth and what they mean. On this second tree, we are going to see the same Sephiroth, and the cards are going to explain them in a slightly different way. We're looking at the same Sephiroth, but this is another facet explaining what they are. Today's card at the top of the second tree, the Tree of the Knowledge of Good and Evil, is the Hangman. Now, the Hangman occupies the place of Keter, and let's see if I can. On the first tree, it was the Magician. The Magician is like God or the creative intelligence of the universe. The Hangman is in the same place. This is Keter, this is God, the creative intelligence of the universe. The card we're looking at is card number 12. The name is the Hangman, and what it means in summary is unrecognized wisdom. A description of the card. We'll take a look at what the parts of the card are and what they mean. You will notice that over top there are garlands hanging down, and you will see it's very similar to what the Magician had. It's just to recognize that these are the same personage. There's a halo of divinity or enlightenment around his head, separating him from the ordinary folk. He's special. He's just not publicly recognized right now. His hands are tied behind his back, and he no longer channels power the way the Magician did, reaching high with one hand and down toward earth with the other. The card's place on the Tree of Life is at the very top. It's Keter, it's the Magician, it's also the Hangman. All the 1 or ace cards participate in this place, and these 2 cards illustrate the aces. With this card, there will always come a chance of public disapproval, and that's going to be part of the meaning of the card of the Hangman. As I mentioned, the card's alter ego on the Tree of Life is the Magician. In this tree, the Magician has fallen out of favor, or his powers have become suspect. How do we reconcile these 2 personages into one Sephiroth? Sometimes greatness, genius, or good intention are not recognized at one time or place. And we can see many instances of this. I always think of Nikola Tesla. And there are other instances too of things not being heralded in their own time. What does this card tell us about this Sephiroth? Greatness is real and consistent. This is not a card about diminished abilities or anything like this. It's just about how people look at them. Uh, Recognition by the majority of people is a subjective thing at best. It's dependent on whims, on laws, on false accusations, and even ignorance. What the general population believes may not be truth. Uh, they're very fickle. We are, we tend to believe what we hear, and we're usually out for self-interest, and sometimes that disguises itself as the more intelligent course. What does this card mean in a reading? If you're doing a reading for someone and the hangman comes down, a couple of things you can say are, you are right, but they are wrong. You can reassure the person. You can't always find truth in the reflection of a group of people. It just may not be there. There is something in this card that when adversity falls, when you do not get the recognition that you want, you have to watch your actions. You have to watch your emotions. Do not let rejection make you angry or vengeful. And you'll note in the card, the hangman has a peaceful demeanor. He is not injured or hurt in any way. He is not lashing out. He is accepting the change of events. The good news about this card is that you are right. You are not dependent on the whims of many people. The thing you are doing is wise, it's intelligent. It's a mirror of the magician in the place of Keter, the very highest spot. The hangman is right and everybody else is wrong. The bad news about this card is if it's laid at a reading, it means you are not recognized and you may be ridiculed or even punished. A few final thoughts about this card. The hangman reminds us not to dismiss or categorize people too quickly. We can walk by people on the street and often be unaware of what treasures they may contain. Sometimes we have to stop for a minute and maybe pay a bit of attention to the person that you would normally dismiss. This card is not asking you to change. This is not a card that wants you to alter what you're doing. It reminds you to accept the ignorance of public opinion. And the final thought is that this situation is non-harmful and it's temporary. So that's it for the meaning of the hangman. The hangman is the greatest card in the tarot deck, the magician, but you see him now not accepted by the population. Let's look at a few of the questions.
How does the hanged man shed some light on the ace cards, the ace of swords?
Okay, the ace of swords means that it is a beginning of power for you, but what you're doing may not be recognized as power at the time. You may be doing something in preparation, and it may not be understood. Sometimes power is not realized at its time. Sometimes a great power can be something that is gentle or slow moving. The ace of swords means that there is power entering your life, and it is represented by the magician who has all the elements on his table, but there is a shadow side. That new power may not be popular when it's first introduced.
How does the hanged man shed some light on the Ace of Cups.
Ace of Cups means some happiness is coming into your life. Again, it's in the one spot on the tree of life and tree of knowledge. And happiness is entering it. But if the hangman, happiness may not be recognized at the time. You may be going through something that is difficult or painful or tedious, but this is exactly the foundation that you need for future happiness. The hangman is always good, always powerful, but the difference between the magician and the hangman is the hangman has no support outside himself.
How does the hangman shed light on the Ace of Staffs?
Well, staves are your plans and your enterprise. Aces means it's starting, and it is in the realm of the magician and the hangman. The magician, all things are possible. When you're starting, the Ace of Wands, you can start some plans and they may come to fruition. We are reminded with the hangman that the best plans are not always seen by others to be the best plans. Again and again, people have built foundations for buildings or done farming techniques that at the time were thought to be wasteful but produced. The hangman is going ahead with your plans and not relying on the affirmation of others to help you see the validity of your plans.
And in relation to the Ace of Pentacles.
The Ace of Pentacles, Pentacles being your wealth, your possessions, and again, it's at the top, it's Keter. If it's the magician, it's saying all things are possible right now for wealth to begin. With the hangman, you have that, but there are going to be conditions on this wealth. And there'll be something that is not widely accepted by others. It may be money in kind. It may be taking something that will have to be exchanged later, or it may be conditions on the acquisition of your wealth where people don't see it as being fair, or may even see it as being ill-gotten goods for a while.
Is the hanged man in trouble? Is he being crucified?
There is a bit of that look of crucifixion to it, but no, he's not in trouble. He is enjoying a rich inner life. He is not being crucified. He is being pilloried. He is on display for the public. It is a form of ridicule.
Who did this to him?
This was done by the powers, and the power will either be the king and the officers of his kingdom, or it will be the institution like the church or the temple. But somebody is in control of the force of this society, and collectively they decided in the hangman that what he's doing is not in the best interests of the society. This is done out of ignorance.
Are they trying to hurt him?
No, they're trying to make an example out of him. They're trying to dissuade people from following him, which is really basically, this is a form of propaganda to have people follow the social mandate rather than follow the hangman or even think with their own minds.
Will he ever get down or be freed?
Yes, this is a temporary situation, and the trick when this card is in a reading or you feel that this card is part of your life right now is to handle it with a certain class and elegance. And as I mentioned earlier, not to let this provoke actions that are based on anger or vengeance.
Why doesn't the magician's head have a glow?
It does. And the glow illuminates the whole card. On the hangman, it's because the background is gray that you see the glow, and the glow doesn't extend beyond the hangman because it's not recognized. It's more or less in his head. The magician is radiant, and the whole card is part of his illumination.
Why doesn't the hanged man have the infinity sign over his head?
Because this is a temporary situation. Instead of that, there is a glow symbolizing his enlightenment, that this is a temporary situation. The magician, as the source of all the aspects, but not yet materialized, that's what the infinity sign represents. That is the beginning force, and it will always exist.
What is the message of the hanged man card?
The message of the hangman card is very often the best ideas are not recognized in their time. It takes a kind of self-confidence and bravery, and maybe even a degree of foolishness to continue with what you think is right in the face of disapproval from your peers. The hangman is a card that means he's right, he's wise, this is the best way, but people just don't quite understand it yet.
Any final thought?
Um, it's interesting seeing how greatness can manifest itself as a leader and bring about progress, and that greatness can also be ignored in its own time and hopefully rediscovered later. And I think we'll end off today with the magician and the hangman and working our way down through the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about what was the high priestess and the release of everything into the world. And on the second tree, that card of the explosion of everything has turned into the death card. And we'll see if we can reconcile those two. Bye for now.
What time?